think it's far worse than we realize, because I think we spend a lot of time trying to make it go away and to pretend that we don't have poverty and homelessness. A comment over here about, well, we're all professional and middle class and we live in Mississauga. I think that was the great dream, and I think that's what we strive for, which makes poverty for a citizen of Mississauga even worse. I think there's a certain amount of shame and failure. In addition to that, the loss of your material status, you really do feel that there's something wrong with you. You must be lazy. My stereotype from what I had learned as I grew up was that in a country like Canada, where everything is wonderful, only the very lazy and very ignorant and those folks who really didn't want any better life were the ones that landed up on the streets. So I had to deal with that, because I knew myself, in myself, I didn't feel that way. But I think because in Peel we're so isolated, it's kind of a personal tragedy, and you wouldn't share that with anybody. In Toronto it's different, because there is a community of poverty, and you talk to your fellow homeless people and you realize that they're okay, they're good people going through a bad time, and it helps you to understand that maybe you're a good person going through a bad time also. So I would say politically, we all have a voice. We all have the right to that voice. To be kind of dead inside politically, or just cast your vote and not think about things, is letting down the most vulnerable. So you have that vote, you have that voice. Apparently we live in a democratic society, so use it. It's not acceptable that people live on the streets. That's just, I mean, the Geneva Convention covers that. It's inhumane. And stand up for that. You know, it's wrong that people go hungry. It's wrong that people have a couple of jobs and live in their car. My passion personally is kids. When I see a child going without, and now we see it 2 and 3 generations, because the poverty is so entrenched that they don't know what having a good life is all about. And it's real easy to give something to a child. They take it, they don't have all these stereotypes, they don't have all this nonsense going on. So if you know somebody in your community that might be ashamed or embarrassed or feel badly, and they have children, their children are never going to feel badly for a little extra something. And it doesn't have to be food, it can just be something fun, you know, to let them know that they're important, to let them know that they matter. And that's probably the third thing, and the thing that I learned more than any other thing on the streets, that we are not anything that we see, or that we earn, or that we deserve. We are who we are inside. And there is a basic equality. The way that you treat a brother or sister is the way that you want to be treated. And I think it has nothing to do with money, or hunger, or owning things. It has to do with seeing into the heart of somebody. And there's goodness there. If you don't look for it, you'll never find it. But if you look, you'll see it. One of the most poignant memories I have of being on the street is I was with a group one night, and they were teenage boys, and they happened to be black boys, and I was here from this lovely suburb, and I was supposed to fear these kids in case they were gangs and they were going to mug me or something. And they just looked cold to me. These kids were freezing. And this one boy had a ski jacket. It was beautiful, but it wasn't zippered up, and he didn't have the hood on, and he was obviously freezing to death. And I don't know what possessed me, but I ran over and zipped him up, right? Because, I mean, first I'm a mother, right? Then I'm homeless. And I said, you're never going to stay warm. You're going to freeze. You will literally freeze. You've got this fine coat and you don't even button it and buckle it and all this kind of thing. And he said, I didn't because my hands were too cold. His hands were in his pocket. And I'm like, oh, that'll never do. What are you going to do? You know, you'll never make it through the winter as a homeless child. And I was crossing Adelaide and I was walking across the street and he hollered out and he said, hey lady. And I turned and he said, are you an angel? And I said, yeah, I am. And I thought, that kind of thing happens on the streets all the time, where you wouldn't have your stereotypes or your fears come first. You would just act because it's the right thing to do. But we could do that here, even though we have homes.